Alright, let's see. Kick seems to be down today. Let's see. Let's see if Rumble pops up. It might take a minute or two. During that time, we can post the stream. Well, I didn't know if I'd be back today. I made it back last night. And I'm incredibly tired today. So hopefully that doesn't affect the stream too much. We only have one topic today. I'm sure everybody can guess what that is. Especially given it's the biggest story that happened since I've been gone over the last 48 hours. I guess I won't be getting kicked to work. That'll be fun. Let's see. I'll just jump right into it. I hope it's working on Rumble. Shows it's working on YouTube. Am I in focus? I can't even tell. I hope I am. Make sure you guys go ahead and drop a like before we begin. Goodness. Yeah, this is the closest we're going to get the focused. I don't know what else to do. Today is... Well, hold on. Let's see if we can do this. Did I just break it? Probably. I guess this is the best it's gonna get. Let's jump into it. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. This is episode number 65 of Addressing the Issues. So, we did it. We are at war with Iran. Now, I guess this is called Operation Epic Fury. This is not a small operation. You know, this is about as small of an operation as Russia had in Ukraine. That's lasted, 3 years now? I think we're slightly over 3 years. Maybe it's slightly over 4 years. Yeah, about as small as that. So, this is a pretty big deal. I guess we'll start. I have no idea how I want to do this today. I guess we'll start with the reasons as to why we've decided to go to war with Iran. The issue with that being is depending on who you ask in the executive branch, you will receive a different answer. Marco Rubio said the objective of the Iran campaign is to wipe out Iran's navy and ballistic missile capacity. If you go to the press secretary, she says that the reason of this operation, as it is misleadingly called right now, is to destroy the Iranian regime's missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground, annihilate the Iranian regime's navy, to ensure the regime's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, stop them from making and using IEDs or roadside bombs, which have gravely wounded and killed thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans, guarantee that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon, preventing this radical regime and its terrorist leaders from threatening America and our core national security interests is a clear-eyed and necessary objective. And then it follows up with killing terrorists is good for America. Well, that's obviously a long list of goals to achieve in a military operation. As of right now, the cost to American life is 6. I would argue that 6 too many. I don't know that anybody, any of their families are okay with what's gone on so far. Maybe they are. They're not okay with the results that they have received. But there's going to be more than those 6 families. President Trump said in a speech, I guess in the first speech that we heard introducing us to the decision that was made, it says the lives of courageous American heroes may be lost. That often happens in war. It sounded a lot to me like in Shrek, when Lord Farquaad is addressing his army before Shrek comes and fights them all with Donkey. It says, some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. It felt super dystopian when he said that, listening to it. I mean, it felt like something out of a Shrek movie. I'd expect, to be treated a little bit better, especially going into a war such as one we are into now. We're too far in now to get out of it. I don't know that this was ever a good idea. I think I've iterated that over and over again. It had no benefit for Americans, at least not in the foreseeable future. I mean, like I said time and time again, we would get higher oil prices and Americans coming back in body bags. Let's check in on the oil price today. I haven't done that. It says it's up 6% for a barrel of crude oil. That's kind of absurd. That's not going to make anybody's life better. That's not going to make, affordability, the word on the street, any better for anybody. It's not. But yeah. So we've addressed that this is far beyond a military operation. We've talked a little bit about the goals. I think the goals here are kind of clear. It's a regime change operation, much like the U.S. is known for in the Middle East. Regime change doesn't really ever work out in our favor. Normally ends up in... We normally end up with a regime worse than the last one and have to do the same thing over and over and over again. Yet, we choose to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect, I guess, some different result. I mean, I guess it is good in a sense that all of the top leaders of the Iranian regime were declared deceased by these strikes. I guess. This was the same regime that we installed 47 years ago after we overthrew the monarchy of Iran. Are we frozen? We're frozen, aren't we? No, okay, we're good. That was just on my end. I guess Rumble might be lagging. But no, we overthrew the monarchy 47 years ago and installed the Ayatollah, thinking that this would be a good solution as opposed to the nationalization of the oil industry. Now, there's been talks that this could be the same person that we would install back, the king of Iran, the monarch, meaning, I guess, 47 years of failed foreign policy gets us back to the same place it did before. I think it's absolutely crazy. An absolutely broken system of U.S. military intervention. I guess you could call it that. But we're back, I guess, at square one, which is, I guess, good, I guess, bad. I mean, it's bad for all the Americans that have died and will continue to die in this war that doesn't particularly have any impact on us other than that our gas prices are going to go up. I've seen talks that the reason that the beginning of this would happen is because Marco Rubio had been notified, or I guess not him, but he conveyed to the Gang of Eight that the U.S. chose to strike Iran because Israel had already decided to launch an attack beforehand. And that we had two choices, either just attack alongside Israel and be retaliated against, or not attack at all and still be retaliated against. I guess this is what you get when you have bad friends. You get bad results. I had a friend so good that it'll drag you into war with them. I don't know. It's not a friend that I want to have. We could go to war together as friends. Brothers in arms, I guess, as they call it. But you don't just drag me into it against my will. It's a bad relationship. It's a toxic relationship. Let's see. I guess going back to regime change, a chief Washington correspondent of ABC News, Jonathan Karl, had a brief telephone conversation with the president after the initial attack, which took out the Ayatollah, claiming that he had identified possible candidates to take over Iran, but they were all killed in the initial attack. Apparently the quote was, "The attack was so successful it knocked out most of the candidates. It's not going to be anybody that we're thinking of because they are all dead. Second or third place is dead." So, I mean, I guess it was successful in that sense. But what do you expect to fill the power vacuum after this? Are you going to install your new strongman? Are you going to install the person that we threw out 47 years ago? Is that the plan? Are we going to just accept that that was 47 years of failed foreign policy? Absolutely absurd stuff. Just today, we were talking last episode about the Customs and Border Protection drone that was shot down by the U.S. military being the largest waste of, or the best expenditure of our tax dollars. Well, I think we one up ourselves today. 3 U.S. F-15s were involved in a friendly fire incident in Kuwait. All the pilots are safe, thank the Lord. But that's 3 F-15s that we paid for, likely missiles, anti-air missiles that we paid for, just in one glorious, dangerous explosion, costing us hundreds of millions of dollars in, I guess, ill-preparedness, negligence, whichever one you want to call it. But I think that, tops the shooting down of the border drone with a laser weapon. But that's, the state of what's going on right now. I guess nobody knows what's going on over there because we're shooting at ourselves. Let's see. Some other notable things that are going on with this. One that I'll claim is unrelated. It's likely related. But you're going to probably ask, how long do you expect this to go on? What do you expect to see? Well, a senior Israeli official is preparing for the war to continue until Passover. That's mid-April. So, if you thought it was going to be a few-day operation, you're sorely mistaken. Mid-April, I guess 5-6 weeks away. That's when they expect this to be wrapped up. They won't rule out boots on the ground. Something that will be even more deadly than what's already gone on. Yeah, boots on the ground in Iran, a country 100-something thousand square miles larger than both Iraq and Afghanistan. These are going to have to be, special forces pinpointed on something, small objectives, if this is going to be any success whatsoever. I don't see, an invasion force, much like that of Iraq or Afghanistan, working out in the president's favor, especially heading in the midterm season. I vaguely remember it was campaigned upon that there'd be no new wars. I guess if you call it a special military operation, it doesn't count. I would consider this a war. I would consider it definitely a war if you put boots on the ground in Iran. This isn't what we voted for. Voted for no new wars, deportations, law and order. We got none of it. None of it whatsoever. I guess if you count the peace agreements Trump's made around the world to wars created, we're at 6, possibly 7. at a net positive. But believe it or not, the U.S. wasn't involved in any of these wars around the world, maybe beyond funding, maybe beyond provoking belligerents. And the region is an absolute mess right now. You've got rockets going into Dubai, rockets going into Oman, rockets going into, everywhere. UAE, Qatar, Cyprus. They hit a British airbase in Cyprus. The British aren't doing anything about it, of course, because they're okay with similar people completely conquering their country, which is a whole nother issue in this large I guess war invasion of Iran. Our country's already been invaded. We've got people shooting up Dallas, I believe it was, a Texas nightclub, wearing the garb of, I guess, what you would expect a Islamic terrorist to wear. But these people are all over our country. They weren't deported yet. We haven't deported all of the likely Hezbollah militants, sleeper cells within our country. There could be, ISIS sleeper cells within our country. There could be Al-Qaeda sleeper cells within our country. We haven't gotten rid of all of them, and I'm sure that they will use these radicalized individuals to create instability within our country, death and loss within our country. So that is another, I guess, compounding factor of what's going on in Iran, is that it could very easily come home and affect the regular U.S. citizen just because of the open borders and the lack of deportations that we've seen so far. And I guess that would make some people very happy, not just around the world, but in the U.S. But we haven't done enough at home to, I guess, justify going around the world and creating more problems for ourselves, more problems for our troops around the world, more problems for, reasonable allies in the region, the UAE, Qatar. And I guess, they were probably struck because they did somewhat affiliate with the U.S. They gave us trillions of dollars in reindustrialization funds. I guess those are going in the missile production. But now they're facing the consequences, and they're otherwise safe countries that haven't made problems with anybody, at least in recent years. It just makes no sense. I guess it does from the Iranian side. This is like their final hurrah of jihad. If they can't have it, nobody else can, acting like absolute 3-year-olds. Does anybody remember that kid? And if I can't have it, you can't either. That's basically how the last regime went out. And I don't know who's going to step in now. It's also affected our consulate in Pakistan. It's been stormed by protesters in recent days. The embassy in Iraq has also been stormed by protesters in recent days. Gunfire breaking out at the embassy in Iraq, actually. There's reports that the new IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard commander, has been appointed. It would be Ahmed Vahidi. He's also another hardliner. And he could be, worse than the last one. Maybe there was a reason they were keeping him on the back burner. I said, you're a little too crazy for us. Because, the last Ayatollah, he had a fatwa against nuclear weapons. Now, whether he completely honored that or not, I guess is up in the air, to be discussed. It would matter who you asked. Because I never saw them produce a nuclear bomb. I've never seen them use one. He claimed that they were not haram. Nuclear bombs were non-haram, so they would not make them. How are we to be sure that the next person doesn't say, okay, we've seen what not producing them does. Let's try doing it the other way. Because a fatwa is only relevant according to the Islamic law or whatnot, I guess Sharia law, maybe that's what it is, until the leader who issues it's death. So now that's gone. Maybe they decide, let's make one. Let's make a nuclear bomb. They might not have a way of getting it here through the air. There's plenty of boats, even though, allegedly the whole Iranian Navy has been sunk, even at transit, a secretive nuclear weapon on a naval vessel. You'd put it in a shipping container, drop it off at a port, have somebody pick up said shipping container, drive it into a city, and then all of a sudden it's hundreds of thousands of Americans dead in one incident. I mean, that would be the easiest way to get it over here with no missile program capable of doing so. And that's a thought, that probably should keep you up at night. I guess don't let it keep you up at night. We all have stuff we got to do in our own lives, but it's a scary thought to consider that what if they did put one of these together and covertly ship it across the world in just a shipping container, pick it up from a port, have some dude with no name given on a CDL pick it up, drive it into a city, press the button, and then this whole situation looks a lot different. I'll scroll through and see if there's anything I missed. I think I said we've already lost 6 U.S. service members. Yeah, I did, because I said it was 6 too many. A couple of minutes ago, the U.S. Central Command posted an overview of Operation Epic Fury's first 48 hours. It says that CENTCOM forces are striking targets to dismantle the Iranian regime's security apparatus, prioritizing locations that pose a threat. Next graphic has all the assets deployed, many of which we've listed in previous episodes. And then at the end it says, in special capabilities we can't list here. That's interesting, alarming. Operation Epic Fury. Types of targets: Command and Control Centers, IRGC Joint Headquarters, IRGC Aerospace Forces Headquarters, Integrated Air Defense Systems, ballistic missile sites, Iranian Navy ships, Iranian Navy submarines, anti-ship missile sites, and military communication capabilities. Maybe, they got rid of them all. I guess one can hope. We haven't seen a hypersonic missile launch yet, at least to my knowledge. Maybe all of those got taken out in the initial strikes, given that it seems that there was some spy games, insider sources in the in the start of it, just knowing where everybody would be at the same time, knowing where, I guess, these sites were, given that we haven't seen these hypersonic weapons deployed. Like I said, they had 2 variations that they're capable of internally producing, and then a third, which is the export variation from China. But thank goodness we haven't seen any of these used yet. And hopefully they're all destroyed, along with the contract to buy them from China. I guess the brief version of this is we're looking at 6 weeks or more of war. We're already shooting ourselves down. We weren't the ones that decided to strike. We just kind of got guilt-tripped into it. And we don't even know who we expect to lead into the future. We didn't install the current regime. We gave refuge to the Shah and his family. Did we have influence over the next one? Yes or no? Did we cause the uprisings in Iran? Yes or no? That's the main question. And if you find any U.S. involvement, likely means that there's a lot more that is classified. Shooting was in Austin, Texas. I hope I said Austin. I might have said Dallas. There's another shooting in Cincinnati. Does not appear to be terror-related. Just thugs fighting in a bar. As does happen at bars. Not a place to bring your kids. But I would be on your toes for many more similar things to that of Austin, Texas. Especially if the order goes out to these likely sleeper cells in our country, in some places that are absolute strongholds. I think of Dearborn. I think of Minnesota, Minneapolis. I think of whatever the surrounding area of Epic City, Texas was. That was a crazy prospect. They would have a Sharia law city. I'd keep your eyes out. I mean, I'd be prepared, because you may have to fight fire with fire, just walking around U.S. cities if the order goes out to these sleeper cell groups. Let's see if we've missed anything. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Oh, in unrelated news, the Israel stock market had its best day today since the COVID pandemic. I'm sure that is not related to war production and war technologies. I'm 100% sure of it. And I'm sure that the reason they had their second greatest day in recent history during the pandemic is because they had inside knowledge of what was going on. I'm sure of it. There's no way that happened. But yeah, U.S. stocks are down. Let's see. How did the market close today? Oh, yeah. Down 73 points in the U.S., 0.15%. If you want to invest in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, you'd be up 5.8% in the first day since the war started that the markets were open, and up 890 points. I guess I know where I'm investing next time. If I think a war's going to break out, I know where to invest. That's a good day. Going up almost 6%. If only the U.S. could. We're still below that 500,000 point range, Pam. So let's get on some stuff. Is there anything else that I forgot? I might not have mentioned that the fighter pilots that were shot down by our own forces were rescued by Kuwaiti citizens, which is rather interesting. I guess good on the people of Kuwait for taking care of us after we took care of them after the invasion of their country. I believe that was, the 90s? Oh, I wanted to look up one more thing. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Anything else that you guys have seen? Okay. All right. So this is accurate. One more thing that happened during, I believe it was the late 90s, before 9/11. We'll just leave it at before 9/11. There was a memo drafted to the United States from Israel. It was called A Clean Break, a new strategy for securing the realm. It's most commonly called the Clean Break Report. It was from 1996. This memo listed 7 countries that the U.S. would, I guess, lead in overthrowing in the next 5 years. Albeit it took a little bit longer than 5 years. But countries whose leaders needed to be deposed, countries needed to be destabilized, were Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. We just reached the 7th 48 hours ago, roughly. So I'll leave you with that. If you want to do your own research on the Clean Break memo, Clean Break report, I would highly recommend you do it. It's geared towards the Greater Israel Project. If you notice the bands of the IDF, what they use to identify themselves, their badges, the nation that they claim to represent looks a little bit bigger on the badge than it does in real life, given international boundaries. And you should also, I guess, look into countries that had power, countering Israel at the time. But no, that badge extends well into the Middle East, encompassing half of Syria, half of Iraq. I believe it's from the Nile to the Euphrates is what's depicted on it. And I believe it also includes Cyprus, which is rather interesting. Yeah, look into those two things and see how we got drug into what I expect to be likely another rather long, drawn-out, bloody conflict in the Middle East. Let's see if we've got any comments. I think I've addressed the ones on YouTube. Well, I closed the chat. Now I can't pull. Oh, there it goes. Okay, cool. I think I've got all the ones on Rumble as well. Kick is just shrouded in bots again, so I'm just not even gonna fool with that one. But no, I guess the main story today, we're in all-out war. I was out, having fun working. We'll call it that. Let's see if there's any new updates. Iran says it won't surrender, of course. Okay, that's interesting. JP Morgan has been considering what it would take for oil to reach $120 a barrel. Those are absurd prices. Yo. Let's see if there's anything else. Is there anything new in the Twitterverse from CENTCOM? That's how I've been keeping up with most of this stuff. No, their most recent one is that 6 U.S. service members have been killed in action, updating the earlier count of 3. Anything else worth talking about? Oh, I guess all the hacking of Iranian networks, telling them to rise up, I guess could work. Although I just have this feeling that if they were to have wanted to rise up, they would have done so by now. That these protests would have been a little bit more effective. It just seems, they're about as committed as, like, a Minneapolis protester. And that should set off all kinds of alarm bells, I guess when the money dries up and the leaders of the provocateurs leave, everything just, quiets down and we go back to square one again. I just think it's the whole protest thing and the rise up thing is a little weird to me. I mean, I guess I understand that you want to empower them to create democracy. That is the goal of the U.S., is spreading democracy. But it seems like, somebody, if they wanted democracy, would have stepped in and filled this power vacuum and said, hey, let's just hold elections. I don't know. It's strange. Real strange stuff. I guess this will be in the news for the next couple of weeks, foreseeable future. So we'll continue to cover this. I just figured I'd try and catch everybody up in the last 48 hours, or of the last 48 hours. Yeah, I mean, red alert or missile alert over Israel. It's like, yes, probably. That's probably going to continue until this is over. We're probably going to have the same things over U.S. bases until this is over. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know that this was the greatest idea ever. I don't know that we're going to get the goals we want accomplished in this way. At least not without a rather alarming number of lives lost. Which I think I said before before this show even, the number of acceptable lives lost in Iran is 0. We're already infinitely over that. Here's interesting news. Not bad news at all. There's a lunar eclipse tonight. Seems to be early evening. So check your local time, see if you can go out and see it. It might be worth looking at. Something to distract yourself, give yourself a few good minutes. I guess it probably won't last but a couple, but go check it out, have some fun, get in touch with nature, I guess, touch some grass. That's probably a good idea at this point. I touched enough grass. I'm absolutely cooked from this weekend. As you can tell, my face looks like a tomato. But yeah, we'll sign off here. I think I've addressed all the chats that I can see or have noticed that aren't people spamming, it looks like phishing links on Kick. Those are neat. I won't be clicking your links, guys. So I hope everybody will drop a like on this video. Share it if you would. Share it if you want to. Share the channel. More and more subscribers are always welcome. More and more people to come hang out, get your daily dose of the news, and normally less time than what's going on today. There's just so much to talk about that's happened in the last 48 hours, and this is just war with Iran. It's absolutely unbelievable. Make sure you're following on Kick, following on Rumble, subscribing on YouTube, turning on those notifications. If you'd like to support financially, there's the little $ icon on Rumble. You can subscribe. Or just make a donation in general. I'd appreciate either. If you do subscribe, there is the benefit of having the red highlighted messages, such as my longtime subscriber, MSJ1970. Big fan. I'm a big fan of you as well. I appreciate it. But yeah, if you want to do that, like MSJ has, I'd appreciate it. But I guess mostly I just appreciate you guys stopping in every day, hanging out, helping me get closer to breaking through this rough live streaming algorithm these days. And if you would, follow across platforms. You know, sometimes these are down, like Kick was at the very beginning today. That also helps me immensely. What else did I want to say? I think that's all. I enjoyed chatting with y'all. Always feel free to ask questions. I'll try and answer them to the best of my abilities. Yeah, that's all we've got for today. Make sure you guys are dropping a like. I'll be back again tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern Time with hopefully better news than I've been spouting out today. Because I don't think anybody likes the idea of forever wars. At least I don't. You know, there's Lindsey Graham out there, and he does his own thing. He loves this kind of stuff, but I'm not a huge fan of wars, or him, actually. So we'll throw that out there. Lindsey Graham, don't come find me, because that would be a scary situation. You're not invited. Not invited to my house. And yeah, we'll sign off here. And then I'll see you guys on tomorrow. No, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4:45. So to all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you finish up your workday strong and get home safe as well. I'll talk to you guys soon, and hopefully it'll be more fun than it was today. Thank you guys for watching. Oh.